Hi, everyone. I'm David Jackson.
And I'm Brad Burrow.
And this is the Digital Disruptors podcast. All right, so we're back with Brad Burrow. He is a video production extraordinaire. He's worked on films, documentaries, you name it. When it comes to video production, he's your person. And today we're really going to be talking about the importance of a content strategy for your video. You shouldn't just go out and start shooting video without a plan. It's almost like you're climbing a mountain without a map. You really need to have something planned. You need to have a strategy, and you need to understand what outcomes do you really expect from your video. So Brad has used his content strategies with companies far and wide, nationally recognized brands, and he's here to talk to us a little bit about that today. So Brad, thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast together is because, we could talk about the meshing of the digital world with the film world and the video world. But I think that a lot of companies don't pay attention to strategy, believe it or not. And especially when you get, like we work with companies that are in the billions, but the companies that, are 5 to 10 million in revenue, even up to 100 million, don't pay attention to strategy when it comes to their content.
Yeah.
And really don't even understand the strategy. What I see a lot is, well, we need to make a video. We know we need to make a video. So let's just make a video. It's going to be about the company and, blah, blah, blah. Throwing the spaghetti against the wall and let's see what sticks. And over and over and over. And that never works. Mm-hmm. We did, a few years back, we did a whole bunch of television spots for a local heating and air conditioning company.
Yeah.
So we did a strategy session with them. We knew that it was stay-at-home moms that were picking up the phone to call. Mm-hmm. They wanted to call somebody and know that it was done right.
Yeah.
Their work was done right. They wanted to feel safe when somebody came in their house, and they wanted to work with people they liked. So every TV spot that we did for them was built around the premise that, they would make the call, the person working on their system was kind of like a family member. There's a little bit of humor in there because the target audience loved to laugh just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the spot, it was the owners of the company on camera saying, I love you too, honey. Let's fix this house, and they went from 10 million in revenue to 20 million in revenue.
Wow.
In 1 year.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
they ran 7,000 spots that year.
Wow.
So their media buy was 7,000 spots. Well, the strategy was the key. So that was like how we built every TV spot, every script and everything was built like that. That's important. If we don't know who we're creating this content for, we don't know what type of message they're going to respond to, and we don't know what we're going to ask them to do at the end of that. It's like, okay, let's throw it against the wall and see what happens.
Yeah, see what sticks, just random. And you just can't do that, especially in the competitive landscape of today where you have new companies entering and coming in with big budgets too, private equity and everything else. You really have to bring your A game. And so, I wanted to ask you, just to kind of dive in a little more on that. So what would you say some of the key steps are in planning for video production? Yeah.
Well, on the strategy side, basically what I would do, and we do this all the time, I say, let's do it over lunch. Let's bring in your whole team and let's get in front of a whiteboard and let me start asking questions. And I want to know, I use this analogy all the time, the fishing analogy. I say, what type of fish are we trying to catch? And so is it bass? Is it catfish? Is it crappie? What is it? And so we know based on what type of fish that we're trying to catch, what kind of bait's going to get them to bite. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we're going to know where they are You're going to fish for catfish in a completely different place that you would fish for a bass, or bass fish. So, and what time of day, all those things, the analogy fits really, really well. And then what are we going to get them to do to bite that bait? So this is very similar to that. So we want to know audience. Who is your audience? How old are they? Where do they live? How much money do they make? What are some key pain points for them? All those things that we can kind of just make a list and, okay, this is who we're trying to capture. And then you think about, say it's a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
Well, that's a certain message that she's going to respond to. If it's a teenager, that's a different message, different style. So we want to know what the message is. We build it around connecting with that target audience. And that's a process. We're asking questions. Who is it? What's the message? All those things. And then what do we want them to do? Do we want them to call? Do we want them to download an app? Do we want them to fill out a form online? Do we want them to, give?
Yeah.
What is it that we want them to do? And then from there, we build this list of content. So here are some things that can actually accomplish that. Is it TV? Is it a podcast? Is it, digital? Is it, social media focused type content?
Yeah.
Is it something we need to run in a stadium? Is it a documentary?
Yeah.
It could be any of those things. And then out of that, you have a really solid strategy. Now you can start building a content plan.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, like, let's say that I'm a person who I was one of those threw the spaghetti at the wall and it stuck type of people. And let's say it's stuck and it's stuck okay. We don't really have much of a way of measuring how well that did, but we know that when we put that video out, we saw an increase. And why is the strategy so important in, how would you convey that to those people when it comes to, I put a video out and it seemed to work, so I could just keep putting videos out?
Yeah. Well, you might have got lucky. There's casinos all around here. And you're like, well, give me put $100 on red.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, you could get lucky, but you would rather be in a position where you were more strategic and you knew that the likelihood of the content working is much higher.
Yes.
That's the thing. So it's a gamble. You can throw budget dollars to something and hope it works, or you can throw budget dollars to something that's got a very, very strong focus on your audience, on what they want, and what you can help them with.
Yeah, because, it's rare, but just kind of tripping and stumbling and like rolling your way to the top, it doesn't happen often.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of like a music artist that hopes to get signed one day.
Yeah.
You might get lucky.
Yeah.
But unlikely.
Yeah, my brother actually said something really cool that, man, it's crazy because this had to be like 12 years ago. But we were talking about, rappers to what you were saying. And, you can have a really great album and it can be really great, like in your apartment complex, but it never like really made it outside of that.
Yeah.
Because you're just kind of shooting at the wall. You're just recording mixtapes and sure, a few people are like, oh, this is good. But as far as having like a clear strategy, like it's been done. The formula's there. Like we can get to this many people with this strategy. It's worked for this person, this person, this person. Let's do that instead of just randomly going out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing that people don't think about that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't believe how many companies that I've had come in here and done a strategy session. And I'm talking about successful companies that are, doing well.
Yeah.
The heating and cooling company that I was mentioning.
Yeah.
They were 10 million in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing well, but they hadn't thought about strategy.
Yeah.
When it came to their television spots. And it's like taking the focus down here and now this is your target. It's the chance of that being successful is way more than just throwing it out there.
Yeah, there's a path, and many companies have followed it to great success, 100 million, $200 million success. Why not go down that path?
Yeah. And your resources are much more efficiently spent.
Yeah.
Those types of things. There's so many really good reasons to do that. And then you come out of there with a plan.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk about some of the other ways that a strategy can really impact the effectiveness of the outcomes of the video.
Yeah, one of the big things is, once you've got that strategy session complete and you like, okay, there's a whole bunch of things that we could do to accomplish this. Well, then it's all about building a plan that is most of the time over a time period of 12 to 24 months, where now we can, literally, okay, I've got case studies, I've got product videos, whatever we've thrown into that podcast.
Yeah.
It might be a live stream event or whatever.
Yeah.
But now you've built a really good plan that you can execute over a time period. And the key to making that work is a schedule.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay? You have to have a schedule. If you don't have that schedule, you're going to get behind and you're not going to deliver things on time. And, in video production world, you could call me today and I'm not going to have a TV spot ready for you tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have to plan ahead and get shoots and scripts and all the things that need to happen before a deliverable is actually handed over to you. So the schedule is a key thing in all of that.
Yeah. And the schedule, so speaking to that a little more, the schedule just kind of dictates like just maintaining that consistency, because it is really about consistency. You see that on YouTube, you see that with even TV shows. Like one of the main reasons why people tune in to their favorite shows is they can schedule, they can kind of schedule themselves around it. I know that every Thursday at 7:00, Gordon Ramsay's coming on and I'm going to be there. It's not going to be late. He's not going to be, because then I'd be disappointed and I'd probably tune out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And you could probably talk to this a little bit, David, just the algorithms, especially with social media content like YouTube and Instagram and all those. I mean, they probably want to have that kind of recurring revenue, and or not revenue, but that uploaded content where they know that, this is going to be, they're rewarding you from a viral standpoint because you're uploading regular content and maybe even on a schedule.
Yeah, that's 100% right. Like YouTube is looking at, I mentioned in a previous episode, they're looking at watch time. But then the consistency of uploads also makes a difference, because you're going to be promoted in the algorithm to more people if you can keep that schedule. We're experimenting with it, but I've seen just in channels I've watched grow, typically they were releasing one video per week, and maintaining that over the course of a year could get the average channel to get close to 1,000 subscribers, which once you hit 1,000 subscribers, you get monetized, and then that's when the motivation really kicks in to keep up with that schedule. But yeah, one video a week, and it's really solid content, they promote you. And that's the same with social media. Like if you're producing on a regular schedule and the audience continually engages with it, that tells the algorithm, oh, hey, well, people find it valuable, and we should promote it more. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And having that schedule is just going to keep you on task.
The other thing I would say on the planning side, something that is really, it's kind of new, but the aspect ratios.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked about it in an earlier podcast about, you've got the 9:16 aspect ratio, which is your iPhone or your phone.
Yeah.
And then you've got 16:9, which is like the monitor that we're looking at here. Well, in production world, we have to plan for that.
Yes.
Okay. Because our cameras all shoot like this, the 16:9 ratio. We recently have done a couple of projects for one of our clients where we took the cinema cameras and turned them sideways. And so we're shooting like this because they're releasing that content only on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube on the stories. Now I can't remember.
Yeah, the reels.
The reels, yeah. So all of those. So the thing is, that has to be, that goes back to strategy.
Yes.
Okay. Do we want to connect with? Do we want to connect your brand on social media? Do we want to connect your brand, on YouTube? Is it going to be TV? All of those things go into, okay, that list of content that we're going to create for you. Well, Instagram videos.
Yeah.
And so that has to be a part of the plan when we're planning how we're going to create content. We have to know that.
So could you talk about some of the tools and things that you employ here at Real Media that allows you to really put together and also maintain and execute a solid content strategy?
Yeah, I mean, basically it's more, like we do have some tools like Basecamp and different things, Slack. Slack's not necessarily the one, but we do have some online tools that we use for that we can interact with customers and stuff. So that's communications is really, really key.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more personnel, it's having a team that is very, very clear on, okay, we're going to deliver what by when,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing, so we can kind of plan backwards from key deliverables, dates that we're going to deliver things. That is a very, very important thing. So I would say communication internally, but also with our clients to make sure that we're on the same page. The other thing about a strategy is it might look good starting off, but something might happen halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Well, then maybe we need to change directions a little bit, or we need to look at something that's working. Well, that's where analytics, we can say, well, this worked better or this didn't work. Really having those conversations about, okay, what is working?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's something that I've seen a lot of businesses. They just don't really look at their data. They don't know where to find it, but they're not really looking at it. They're going by one metric only, and that is, how many views, how many clicks, was there an increase in phone calls, but they don't really correlate. They don't really tie that specifically to the video. And so having a team that knows what they're looking at is important for understanding what's working and what's not.
Yeah. And that's something I think we could dedicate a whole podcast episode to.
Yeah.
Your expertise on the analytics side, even you think about, YouTube, Libsyn is a platform we upload our podcast to, and we can get pretty good analytics on downloads and who's watching and those types of things. But who is really taking that information and using it to improve or get better or change or, I don't know. I don't think that a lot of people are actually doing that.
And there's so much data out there. I think that they need someone like you to narrow down and tell them, what are the key things? Like, what are the most important things I should be watching? And to that point, what are just, if I were to only look at like maybe a few things every month on how my videos are doing, what should I look at?
Well, for me, it's looking at views. Number one, obviously, views is a big deal. You want to know how often it's being viewed, but you can go in and look at where it's being viewed. You can tell demographics of who's actually watching the content, where it's being linked to from, different things like that. To me, I would be looking at the demographic side of it and seeing, is this the fish I want to catch?
Yeah, there you go.
And then you'll know if it's actually working. There are some times when maybe the views aren't as high, but you got in front of really key, decision makers.
Yeah.
It was totally worth it. And so those are the things that, as you get into YouTube and the online platforms more and more, the data that you can get from each interaction is pretty robust.
And I think what you said there was very important. It's not, the views are very important, but who's watching is also very important because, if you only have 100 views and, 80 of them were per prospects, it's like, someone may look at that video and say, oh, only 100 views, but wait a second, 100 of my ideal customers saw this one video.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So yeah, but again, you have to have, as you were saying, the strategy, the tracking, the adjustments. It's a real thing you have to put effort towards, and you're going to run out of spaghetti. if you keep throwing it at the wall like that. So
Yeah. One thing too I wanted to add, David, is that one of the conversations that we have with almost every brand that comes in here is that you have to do your part in sharing this content and helping it get out to people.
Yes.
It's not just throwing a video up on YouTube and hoping somebody finds it. That's not going to work.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to be very, very active about sharing it and getting it in front of people, asking people to watch it, sending out, whatever it might be, a newsletter, however it is that you're going to promote that, but that's got to be an aspect of the strategy and the plan.
Yeah. Because if you're coming and my assumption is when you're at the point of being ready to invest in high quality video, you should have an audience that you can tap into.
Yeah.
You should have a bunch of customers you work with, a decent social media, and getting it to them is the first step. That's really the first step. And I agree with you completely. So yeah, the strategy is important. I appreciate you talking about all of that. Mm-hmm. And so in the next episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of video content as it pertains to SEO. I thank you all for joining us on the Digital Disruptors podcast. I'm David Jackson.
And I'm Brad Burrow.
And we will see you next time.